Imagine this. It's the night before Thanksgiving. Highways are jammed, airports are crammed, and trains, they're packed. 55 million Americans are on the move. The single largest annual migration in the U.S. And here's the thing. When that many people depend on planes, pipelines, and highways at the exact same time, the system becomes fragile. One cyber attack on an airline, one pipeline disruption, one rail strike, suddenly millions of Americans are stranded. Thanksgiving isn't just about turkey. It's about tankers, the TSA, and the national security backbone that makes the holiday possible. So on this Thanksgiving, let's be thankful for our friends, our family, and the system that keeps us safe. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome to Midweek Sitrep, your bi-weekly briefing on what's happening in the world of national security. My name is Jerry Fowler, and I'm your host. Every other week, I give you the context you need to see what's really going on so you can stay mission-focused. Thanksgiving is a holiday built on traditions, family dinners, crowded airports, and highways that feel more like parking lots. But behind the turkey and the travel lies a bigger story, a national infrastructure stretched to its limits. In this episode, we're going to look past the holiday chaos to the systems that make it possible and why they matter for national security. Thanksgiving is the ultimate stress test of American infrastructure. For 1 week every year, the entire country moves at once. TSA screens more passengers in 5 days than they do in most months. Airlines max out every aircraft, every crew, every gate. Highways turn into slow-moving rivers of headlights stretching from coast to coast. And fuel demands, they spike. Gasoline for the drive, jet fuel for the flight, diesel for the trucks hauling everything that ends up on your table. It's the moment when every link in America's mobility chain is pulled tight. And when systems run hot, the smallest malfunction can cascade. One malfunctioning radar at a regional tower. One software glitch in a baggage system. One cyber attack on a fuel supply node. Each can trigger delays that ripple across states and hours. That's why Thanksgiving isn't just a travel story. It's a real-time resiliency test, showing whether our airports, highways, pipelines, and people can perform under national-level pressure. Because any weak link in that system isn't just an inconvenience, it's a national vulnerability, revealed once a year, under the glow of brake lights and runway beacons. Airports are the most visible choke point of Thanksgiving. They're where America's holiday optimism meets the hard limits of security throughput. Every passenger is screened. Every bag is scanned. Every plane cleared to fly. For 5 straight days, TSA operates at surge tempo. In 2023, it screened more than 2.9 million passengers in a single day, the highest in its 22-year history. Now that's not just a travel record, it's a national security record. But physical screening is only half the story. The other half is digital. Modern aviation runs on software, scheduling systems, air traffic control databases, gate management tools, and the networks that track baggage and fuel delivery. When those systems blink, the nation stalls. We've seen what that looks like. In January 2023, an FAA systems failure in the NOTAM network grounded all domestic flights for hours. No hostile actor, just a glitch. But the effect was identical: national paralysis. Now add intent. Airlines and airports have become lucrative ransomware targets. Criminal and state-linked groups know that the combination of urgency and public visibility guarantees quick payouts and maximum pressure. In October 2022, multiple U.S. airports, including Atlanta, Los Angeles, and Chicago O'Hare, were hit by distributed denial of service attacks claimed by a Russian-linked hacktivist group called Killnet. The websites went dark. Flights kept moving, but the message was clear. Even low-level cyber noise can erode confidence in critical systems. A well-timed ransomware attack, say on a major carrier the night before Thanksgiving, would do far more than delay vacation plans. It would ripple across freight operations, supply chains, and emergency response networks that depend on the same aviation backbone. That's why cybersecurity in aviation isn't just an IT problem. It's homeland defense. A grounded flight isn't just an inconvenience. It's a signal to adversaries and allies alike about the strength or fragility of America's connective tissue. Now, with all this talk about travel, it's clear that Thanksgiving runs on fuel. Jet fuel for flights, gasoline for road trips, diesel for trucks hauling food and goods. For most of us, that just means a quick stop at the pump before heading out. But behind that simple act lies one of the most complex supply networks in the world. An energy web stretching from the Gulf Coast refineries to East Coast distribution hubs to the neighborhood gas station. The arteries of that network are pipelines. And when those pipelines stop flowing, everything stops. In May 2021, the Colonial Pipeline, the largest fuel pipeline in the United States, was hit by a ransomware attack. A criminal group known as DarkSide gained access through a single compromised password. We talk a lot here about cybersecurity and AI and being protected, but let that sink in, that those little annoying reminders to change your password and password complexity and multi-factor authentication, it seems like an inconvenience at the time. But take this, a single compromised password forced the company to halt operations for 6 days. Now, that one incident disrupted nearly 45% of the East Coast fuel supply. Airports rationed jet fuel, truckers ran low on diesel, and millions of Americans panic bought gasoline, creating shortages that lasted for days. The Department of Energy called it a wake-up call for critical infrastructure resilience, because Colonial wasn't taken down by bombs or sabotage. It was taken down by malware and human error. Now imagine that happening the week of Thanksgiving. Fuel demands spike, airlines are at full throttle, trucking and rail networks are maxed out moving food, freight, and gifts. A 6-day pipeline outage during that window wouldn't be an inconvenience. It would be paralysis for the holidays, and it would stall the economy. The average commercial jet burns 5 gallons of fuel per mile. A typical long-haul truck, more than 20,000 gallons a year. Those numbers mean fuel isn't a background detail of Thanksgiving. It's the hidden backbone of it. That's why pipeline security is national security. The Department of Homeland Security and the Transportation Security Administration now oversee mandatory cyber reporting rules for pipeline operators, requiring rapid incident response and multi-factor authentication after Colonial exposed those gaps. So the next time you swipe your card at a pump or see a jet lifting off into the November sky, remember that motion depends on a network that most people will never see. A system that keeps the holidays and the economy in motion. Fuel isn't just about getting to grandma's house. It's about keeping the entire country running. Thanksgiving is also about supply chains. Turkeys, cranberries, stuffing, they don't teleport. They travel by rail, by truck, across thousands of miles. It's a web so vast that even a brief disruption can be felt in every grocery store in America. Freight rail is the backbone of that system. It carries everything from grain and fertilizer to the packaging that wraps your food. But in late 2022, that backbone almost broke. 12 rail unions representing more than 115,000 workers threatened a nationwide strike over sick leave and scheduling rules. Now, if it had happened, it would have frozen 30% of U.S. freight shipments, roughly 7,000 trains a day, halting nearly every major supply chain: fuel, food, autos, chemicals. The White House and Congress intervened in December 2022 to avert it. But that near miss showed just how fragile that system is. A single labor dispute nearly stalled the country. Now, let's zoom in on the trucking aspect, the next critical link. Trucks move over 70% of all freight in the U.S., including the majority of food and consumer goods. But the industry faces a persistent driver shortage. More than 60,000 unfilled positions in 2023, according to the American Trucking Associations. Turnover rates exceed 90% annually in some fleets. That means the system that runs on thin margins. One weather event, one cyber attack, one labor shutdown, and the shelves empty fast. And these systems are increasingly digital. Both trucking and rail networks rely on automated dispatch systems, GPS fleet tracking, and inventory software, each a potential cyber vulnerability. In 2023, trucking companies in the US and Canada faced ransomware attacks that shut down scheduling systems, forcing temporary halts in shipments. So what if that would have happened in late November? Rail networks frozen, truck dispatch software offline, fuel can't move, food can't ship, store shelves thin out right before the biggest family meal of the year. Thanksgiving would feel a lot less like tradition and a lot more like triage. Because logistics isn't background noise. It's the lifeline of American security, commerce, and culture. And when that lifeline stretches too thin, we all feel the tension. Behind every plane, pipeline, and truck is a person. A living link in the chain that keeps the country moving. At airports, TSA agents work double shifts to screen record-breaking passenger volumes. In 2023, the agency screened nearly 3 million travelers in a single day, a historic peak that pushed personnel and equipment to their limits. Staffing shortfalls have forced overtime schedules and deployment of officers from quieter airports to busier ones just to keep lanes open. In pipeline control rooms, operators monitor flow 24/7, scanning pressure readings and pump data that determine whether cities have fuel. They're trained to spot anomalies that might signal leaks or cyber intrusions, because one missed alert can cascade into regional outages. On highways, truck drivers are the circulatory system of the economy. The American Trucking Association estimates that there's more than 3.5 million professional drivers, many logging long hours under strict federal limits, no more than 11 hours driving in a 14-hour work window. Still, driver fatigue remains a major safety and supply chain concern. Even a small reduction in active drivers can delay deliveries for days. And above it all, air traffic controllers manage the skies. The FAA has acknowledged a persistent shortage, about 3,000 controllers below target levels as of 2024. Those who remain often work mandatory overtime to handle surging flight volumes. One missed handoff, one fatigue error, and hundreds of flights could be affected. This is the human layer of national security, the one you can't automate or outsource. Morale, staffing, and readiness matter as much as sensors, software, or steel. because systems don't break on their own. People do, when they're overworked, undersupported, and stretched too thin. One sick out, one labor dispute, one exhausted workforce, and the system buckles. That's why resilience isn't just about hardware or cyber defenses. It's about human endurance, the ability of the people behind the machinery to keep the country moving, even when the pressure peaks. Okay, you know the drill. Let's talk to businesses. For businesses, Thanksgiving travel isn't just a holiday problem. It's a mirror of resilience. Every November, the United States runs the largest coordinated logistics exercise in the world, and most people don't even realize it. Airlines, food suppliers, fuel suppliers, retailers, and trucking companies all hit maximum operational load. What holds, what breaks, and what bends during that week tells you everything about the strength of that system. And the same lessons apply to any business in any sector. Let's talk stress tests. If you only test your systems when it's calm, you'll never know how they'll perform during a storm. Airlines simulate flight delays and crew shortages to test continuity. Pipeline operators run outage drills under TSA and DHS guidance. Retailers wargame supply chain congestion before Black Friday. In corporate compliance, the equivalent is testing your crisis response plan before you need it. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your preparation. Then there's cyber readiness. If ransomware can paralyze a 5,500-mile fuel pipeline, then it can paralyze your business too. Now see, the Colonial Pipeline attack wasn't sophisticated. It was preventable. A single compromised password forced a shutdown that cost hundreds of millions in losses and recovery. CISA's data shows that 43% of cyber attacks on critical infrastructure start with stolen credentials or unpatched systems, the corporate equivalent of leaving the door unlocked. Cybersecurity isn't just an IT issue. I keep saying that, and I hope that that's coming through. Because it's not just IT, it's a board-level compliance issue. Let's not forget supply chain contracts. The 2022 rail dispute and ongoing trucking shortages highlight why contract language matters. Force majeure, labor strike, and delay clauses determine who bears the cost when the system slows down. Companies that had flexible logistics contracts and contingency suppliers weathered the disruptions. Those that didn't, well, they didn't. For compliance officers and counsel, that's a reminder. Contracts are part of operational resilience. Then there's energy dependence. Every business depends on energy. Even tech companies built on clouds. A data center is only as strong as the grid that powers it. When fuel supplies tighten and electricity costs spike, margins vanish. That's why energy diversification and continuity planning, generators, alternate suppliers, and fuel inventories are essential risk controls. Because Thanksgiving teaches a simple truth. Stress doesn't create weaknesses, it reveals them. The companies that learn from these stress points, that build redundancy, resiliency, and situational awareness, those are the ones that last. Here's the kicker. America isn't alone. Every major economy has its own version of the Thanksgiving stress test. Moments when their movement of people, goods, and data all spike at once, and national systems are pushed to the limit. In China, it's Golden Week, 2 national holidays in the spring and fall that trigger the largest human migration on Earth. In 2024, over 800 million trips were logged during the October Golden Week, overwhelming highways, railways, and airline networks. China's Ministry of Public Security deploys additional cyber and transportation security teams each year to manage the surge, because one failure in ticketing systems or logistics can strand tens of millions. In India, it's Diwali, the Festival of Lights, a season that combines massive travel with peak energy consumption. Hundreds of millions return home to celebrate, and power grids are tested by simultaneous travel, manufacturing slowdowns, and increased electricity demands. Cybercriminal groups have repeatedly targeted Indian transport and energy sectors during this period, including phishing campaigns on airlines and payment platforms. Then there's Europe. It's the Christmas market surge, a continent-wide travel wave that tests aviation, rail, and energy systems simultaneously. In 2022 and 23, European rail operators and airlines faced coordinated cyber attacks and data breaches in December, many attributed to Russian or pro-Russian hacker collectives. It's not coincidence, it's timing. Adversaries understand that holiday windows are the soft underbelly of critical infrastructure. Staffing is thin. Incident response teams are on a skeleton crew. Decision-making slows, and public attention is elsewhere. That's why ransom groups, cybercriminal syndicates, and even state-linked actors frequently strike around the holidays, when systems are maxed out and defenses are distracted. In the US, Thanksgiving is our version of that global playbook, a nationwide stress test disguised as a holiday. 55 million people in motion, billions of gallons of fuel consumed, thousands of networked systems humming in perfect sync or near it. And every November, that choreography becomes a live exercise in resilience, not just for logistics, but for the broader idea of how a modern, interconnected society sustains itself under pressure. Because in the 21st century, global power isn't measured only in weapons or wealth. It's measured in how well a country moves its people and how quickly it recovers when the movement stops. So this year, as you board a plane, fill up your tank, or wait in the TSA line, remember, Thanksgiving isn't just a family tradition. It's a stress test of national security. Pipelines, planes, highways, people, all pushed to their limits. If they hold, the holiday holds. If they crack, the consequences ripple far beyond a late turkey dinner. Because in America, even Thanksgiving travel is national security. I wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you enjoy time with your friends, families, and loved ones. That's it for today's Midweek Sitrep. If this episode got you thinking, don't let the conversation stop here. Head over to the Insider Brief on Substack and subscribe. It's where we dig deeper, answer your questions, and preview what's next. We're also on YouTube, where you'll find short clips, interviews, and bonus content. Make sure to subscribe there if you haven't already. And if you want to support the show, go to everythingisnationalsecurity.com and check out the merch. Every shirt and hat helps keep Midweek Sitrep independent and growing. Subscribe, share, and stay sharp. I'm Jerry Fowler, and remember, everything is national security. See you next time. Midweek Sitrep with Jerry Fowler is an independent production of OpScent Media Group, LLC. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, financial, or professional advice. Listeners should consult with a qualified professional before making any decisions based upon the content discussed. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host, Jerry Fowler, and any guest, and do not reflect the official policy, position, or endorsement of any current or former employer, client, government agency, military organization, educational institution, or any other entity for which the host, Jerry Fowler, may be affiliated. Mention of a company, product, or service does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation. Any references are provided for informational purposes only. This podcast does not disclose any classified, proprietary, or confidential information. All discussions are based upon publicly available information and personal expertise.
Everything's national security. OpSent Media Group, LLC.